Hi, it's Sue Greenwald here with Awaken Steps to Health. Today's topic is meat, which is a big one. I know a lot of people have been asking about this. So, first of all, I wanted to go through a list of reasons we might not want to eat meat or we might want to reduce meat. I'll go off on a few tangents, I'm sure. So, basically, the big one is the quality of the meat, especially now in today's society. We don't know where the meats come from, where it's sourced, and how it's been treated. All right. So, we've heard about 3D printed meat, which I wouldn't want to consume. We've heard about human meat being used as a substitute or ingredient in some of these burgers and the fast food places. Um, also, sometimes there's a diseased animal and they just go ahead and we eat that as well, and people don't even know any better. All right. Meat also does have a very high amount of parasites. Meat and fish both do. Now, you can get parasites from many sources, but of course, they're very high in meat and fish. Um, the animal's welfare is a big reason we might want to consider not eating meat. Many of us kind of have a vague idea of factory farming. We know it's not good, but we don't really see it or really know what's going on. So if you want to educate yourself, there's tons and tons of movies and documentaries out there. A couple I can say that I've seen is Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy. Let's see, Food Incorporated is a really good one. Dominion. There's tons of them out there, and basically they just tell you how the food industry is structured and the FDA and the labeling and how they do things, and it's not especially pretty, especially when you see how the animals are raised and the conditions that they're raised in. So that's a big reason you might want to consider not eating meat. Um, Now, one of the things that meat causes in our body is inflammation. All right. So, inflammation is a huge culprit for chronic diseases, arthritis, joint pain, all sorts of stuff. And what happens is when we have an acidic blood system, okay, so if we eat a lot of processed foods, meat, alcohol, sugars, stuff that turns into sugar in our bloodstream, like certain types of rice or breads or whatever, we have a lot of acid in our blood system, and that creates inflammation, which creates all these other chronic diseases. And so, most people, especially those under stress and they see all these illnesses and weird things happening with their body, have inflammation. And reducing the amount of meat that you eat is one good way to reduce that acidic blood system. All right. Um, One thing I wanted to talk about briefly were these fake meats. I don't know what we want to call them, plant-based meats, which I'm not sure if I believe that claim at all. Beyond Burgers, Impossible Burgers, and the other plant-based based meats. And some of these meats and substitutes are made with soy, which you kind of want to be careful of what soy you're eating, and we don't always know. All right. So we don't want too much soy in our diet either, and we want it to be organic when we can control that. And again, there's nefarious, um, is it a GMO grown, lab grown meat in there? I I personally think you should avoid that. And it would be better to eat real meat than a fake meat that's got bad components. Okay. So there's a lot of reasons that you'll probably want to reduce meat. When I went vegetarian way back when, the biggest reason I chose vegetarian at the time, I wanted to try it. And I was never like a big meat person anyway. But it's really for spiritual reasons. Okay. So at that time in my life, I had been meditating and exercising and eating healthier and learning more and more and more and raising my vibration as much as I could. And I got thinking, well, why would I want to put stuff in my body that like lowers me down, like lowers that vibration down? And with meat, we've heard that because of the way the animals are treated and the way that they're killed and processed, the pain, the fear, all of that, the harsh conditions that they live in, all of that negativity is put into the meat. It's chemically in the meat, which is what we ingest. So Why would you want to put that in your body? So I decided for spiritual reasons to go meatless way back when. And really, once you get the hang of it after a week or so, it's not a big deal. And especially now, a lot of people are very accepting of that. All right. So it wasn't a big deal. All right. Um, One other thing is pork has a pig has what's called the death enzyme. You can research that if you want, but a pig has a short intestinal tract, and pigs are often fed, garbage. We'll just say it that way. And so the garbage is not really well processed through their system because the digestional tract is so short. So there's a lot of nefarious things in pork. And of course, I grew up eating a lot of ham way back when. So I haven't eaten pork in a really long time. And, again, I don't miss it. Once it's out of your diet, it's something you don't really miss. The hard part is getting used to like what you'll have each meal. We're taught to have meat with every meal, right? Bacon, sausage, ham in the morning, lunch meat in the afternoon, or chicken on our salad or whatever we're having. And of course, meat is always the main course for dinner as well. All right. So maybe you'll want to taper down on that. So a lot of reasons you're probably going to want to skip meat. If you want to learn more, I think I already said these movies, Food Incorporated, Dominion, Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives are great books, or I'm sorry, great documentaries on how the animals are treated, how the FDA approves the meat, etc. It's crazy. So that could probably be the turning point, and you going vegetarian as well. One book I read years ago, it's a little bit scientific, is called The China Study. I think the author is T. Colin, I want to say Campbell. Um, Anyways, it's a comprehensive study, and it basically shows how we think we're taught, again, we need meat for our protein, but basically it's not healthy whatsoever to have meat in our diet. And also we get more protein from plants than we do meat, which is actually true. All right. Where do you think the cows get their protein from or whatever? All right. So if you want to research, those are some good resources. Um, Other health reasons, I'm going to go through a list and kind of talk about the benefits of getting less meat into your diet. Again, inflammation. So it will reduce your inflammation in your system, which causes all sorts of other chronic diseases. All right. So that's a really good thing. And it would probably take you maybe 1 or 2 weeks to notice that you don't have as many aches and pains once you get meat out of your system. Um, it's going to lower your blood pressure. There's a food safety, like there's less contamination and parasites and all sorts of stuff in your diet. Of course, the animal welfare, environmental welfare, because it takes so much to farm these animals, water and blah, blah, blah. We have all of those resources, but the way it's done is very nasty when how they kind of like will dump the waste into the rivers and stuff. It's not well done. All right. You'll definitely lose weight. Okay. That's a bonus. Your energy level will go up by magic. It'll clear your circulatory systems, your intestines. You're going to probably see your skin clear up or look brighter and more luminous. You're going to have higher immunity. I don't know. There's lots of other little associated benefits to not eating meat. So I would highly recommend you at least taper down a little bit and see if you notice any of those. Um, One other thing I wanted to talk about before I go into how to go vegetarian is eggs. It's kind of related, not related, but I'm going to do it here. So eggs are obviously a product of the chickens. In factory farmed eggs, the chickens live in horrific conditions. Okay. And the egg that you receive in the store in your little styrofoam carton can be up to 90 days old. And again, chickens are not well treated. So there's not a lot of high vibration in those eggs. In general, I would say eggs are healthy for you. They have a lot of protein and other nutrients in them. But again, it's not just the vitamins that you're looking at, it's the vibration of the food. So factory farm food is not high vibration, period. All right. So an egg should have a bright orange yolk, not light yellow. It should be orangey and bright. That's how you know it's healthy. All right. So they've got different marketing labels on the cartons now. Cage free. So we like to think that cage free means the chickens are running around the field and they're happy, which some of them are, okay? But some of these cage free are basically they've opened the door to the cage and their cages are only like this. So the chickens are crunched down in their little cage. So yeah, the doors are open, but that doesn't mean they're out in a field, okay? So again, look at the color of your egg, all right? And then the other thing is free range chickens. So free range means that they are given like a pen or a field or something to walk around in, and they're much healthier for you. Of course, the chickens live better lives in general. Again, depends on the farm, but chickens eat pretty much everything. And if they're fed, you usually want to make sure they're not fed antibiotics or, it's a vegetarian diet. You don't want them to eat, let's just say garbage or waste, because you're getting that in your egg. All right. So kind of a byproduct of meat. Okay. I do eat eggs, and that's me. All right. You choose what works for you. And we're going to do some experiments through this little process to see what does work for you. All right. Now, how to become vegetarian is pretty easy. Stop eating meat. Okay. See how easy this is? I would recommend that you taper down on meat. Like, let's say you eat meat 2 or 3 times a day, maybe cut down to one. And then maybe cut down to, instead of 7 days a week, maybe only 4 or 5. Okay, so start getting used to different foods in your diet. Make some different meals. Explore a little bit and just taper down so you don't feel deprived. I find that if you feel deprived, you usually go off the deep end a few days later. So just start slowly and see how you feel. All right. Now, again, meat has a heavy energy. So we're talking physically heavy, all right, because it's really a solid product, as well as energetically heavy. All right. So we're used to that really heavy feeling of being full and sometimes sluggish full. All right. Where sometimes if you eat other things like, say, fish or whatever, you're still full, but you feel a lightness of energy. And that's what we're after, that vibration. Okay. Doesn't matter what you're eating, you have to play with it a little bit to get there. Okay. Because everyone's different. So slow down your meat consumption. And of course, educate yourself as much as you can. I'm sure there's tons and tons of videos out there that are fabulous. Um, I also would recommend maybe go pescatarian. So pescatarian is someone that eats fish and not meat, meaning beef, pork, whatever it might be. So pescatarian seafood is a good way to, like, again, taper down from the other meats, and it's a little healthier. The vibration is a little higher when you eat seafood, so you'll probably notice a little difference there. And I'm not talking deep fried, I'm talking, broiled, grilled, or whatever, okay? Um, Here's a big one that no one ever talks about anymore. Bless your food. Okay, so in the old days, people prayed around the table, all right? Things weren't easy for them, and they would pray and they'd say, "Thank you for this food." And they would thank everybody for their part in growing the food and producing the dinner and blah, 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 blah. And what does that do? It brings the vibration of the meal up, of the food up, all right? And I'm going to guess probably not too many people do that anymore. So we know that appreciation and gratitude is one of the highest vibrations. We want to put love energy, appreciation, gratitude into our food. And I always use my holotech tools. Okay. So I have them all over the house, but you don't need a tool. Just bless your food. Thank Daddy, thank God for the food you have on your plate, that you have it, that you have the choices and the variety and all of that you do have. Always appreciate what you do have, and that brings the vibration up. All right. So even if you are eating meat, still bless it. And I always say I honor the animal that gave its life for me to bring this meal to my plate, and everybody else that had their part. You know, all the delivery people, the store people, everyone had their part in bringing that meal to my table, and I appreciate what they're doing. All right. So bring up the vibration of your food. Um, I have cut out pork, and I haven't eaten pork except by accident a few weeks ago. I didn't know what it was. So I cut out certain meat types. Like right now, I occasionally will eat beef. I occasionally eat chicken, but I'm tapering away from that. It doesn't really appeal to me anymore. So you might find that something doesn't appeal, and you could cut out one type of meat easily without ever looking back. Go ahead and start that way. All right. Um, the other thing is substitution. So again, I don't recommend those GMO Beyond Burgers or whatever anymore. I feel like that's very questionable food, but substitutions. So, um, let's say you're craving a burger. Black bean burgers are crazy good. All right. It's not the same as a beef burger, but you get the same chewing satisfaction, fullness, and there's a lot of alternate burgers out there, and some are frozen, some I don't like, so you have to play with it a little bit, and maybe you'll find a recipe that you really enjoy. But substitutions until you can get to the point of not needing the meat. All right. There are tons and tons of great vegan and vegetarian sites and recipes out there that you can try. And, maybe there's a good vegan restaurant in your area or vegetarian that you can try. Um, a lot of restaurants, obviously, most restaurants serve salads. So let's say you decide to go vegetarian and you go to a regular place, you don't know what to get. Pretty much a salad is a good choice, right? If you can't find anything else that appeals, that's always a good choice. All right. Um, the last thing I wanted to talk about were some definitions. All right. So by getting the meat out of your diet, we're calling that vegetarianism, okay? And my hope is that you will actually eat vegetables too, all right? Because some people will eat junk food, and just because it's not meat doesn't mean it's healthy for you. But it's called lacto-avo, vegetarian that will eat dairy products and egg products. Okay, so that is a category of vegetarianism. Or there's lacto-vegetarian, which is no dairy. I'm sorry, it's a dairy but no eggs, and ovo-vegetarian, which is eggs and no dairy. So you can play with the things you want to take out of your diet. I'm going to be doing a video about dairy soon, so you'll know the reasons why you might want to consider at least reducing that out of your diet. And again, you can play with eggs. Eggs can be a food that causes food allergies for some. So you have to play with things to see how your body responds to it. And it usually takes, let's just say, a week for you to notice I'm feeling more energy, I feel less sluggish, or I don't feel any difference, which is so it's really good to know what works for you. All right. Well, I hope this helped. I will try to answer any questions in the comments section, and good luck reducing your meat if you choose to do so.